and welcome to another teaching from TorahFamily.org. We are a family-based ministry that believes the whole Bible stands forever, that all of it is based in the Torah, and all of it promotes the Torah. Please visit us at TorahFamily.org for more teachings like this one. We hope this teaching helps you learn and grow in the faith. Men of Yahweh, Chapter 7, Overcoming Lust. In this chapter, we want to address a topic that many seem to just want to avoid. Why? Because no one wants to admittedly think of themselves in that light. What light is that? Lust. Man's pride tries to keep it hidden and covered as much as possible. This is because, just as much as they don't like to think of themselves in that light, they especially don't want anyone else thinking of them that way either. So, all too often, this topic is just brushed under the rug. This is a topic that many women may struggle in understanding the temptation that men have. Yet, men are truly made up differently. Men can be visually stimulated very easily. However, if there are any women listening to this, please do not condemn your husband for his struggle with lust. If you do, you are only adding to his self-condemnation. He needs you to support him, not condemn him. He needs you to be there for him, not to belittle him. Just because this is not your temptation, it does not mean the temptation isn't real. Just because this is not your weak area in life, it does not mean it can't be his. Wives, please know that your husband needs you to be his wife, not his judge. Be his helper, not his prosecuting attorney. Your husband doesn't need a parole officer constantly watching over his shoulder. He needs you praying for him on your knees. He needs you praying for him as you do this or that. He needs you praying for him all day long. Wives, I understand that this temptation you see within your husband is hard for you to not take personally. However, losing your temper at or belittling your husband will not strengthen your marriage. Men, you must understand that women do take it personally. Anytime you give in and lust after another woman, you make your wife feel like she is nothing in your eyes. Anger, hurt, frustration, along with a multitude of other justified emotions will flood her heart. She will feel that way because of your actions. Now, before we can go any further, I believe we need to identify what lust is. There is nothing wrong with saying a woman is attractive or pretty. However, looking at a woman in lust is where one allows their imagination to look upon that woman as an object and not as an individual. There is a difference with looking at someone in respect and looking at them with sensual desire. And that is what lust is, sensual desire. Lust degrades women to objects. That's right. And that's why women can feel so betrayed by their husbands in this. It makes them feel even less than the objects their husbands are lusting after. Yet, wives, please know that this is not the intention of your husband. He loves you and would be the first to lay his life on the line for you. In fact, just as much as the temptation to lust is in him, it is in him even more to defend you. Wives, if you let yourself take it personally, your possible reaction can be taken as salt on an open wound. No one wants salt poured on an open wound, and that's what we are talking about here. Lust is a wound to any warrior, and they know it. It can be a lethal wound if not tended to. Yet, that is what happens for many men. They are ashamed of their wound and feel they will only be condemned if it is revealed, especially if they have been condemned in the area before or seen others treated as such. So they keep it to themselves. Sometimes they overcome. Most times they don't. So, now that we can hopefully see a little of both sides of the issue for both men and women on the subject, men, how do we overcome this temptation? First, you have to want to overcome it. You have to want to overcome it enough to act. Think of it this way. Psalm 51, verse 10. Create in me a pure heart, O God, and renew a steadfast spirit within me. This is not something that just happens overnight. It's something that is created within us. It's developed. It takes time. It takes a willingness on our part as well. As Yahweh pricks our heart on something, He expects us to respond accordingly. We can't pray for a clean heart and not think He won't be having something for us to do. After that, it's up to us to keep it clean. In fact, that's the reason of David's prayer for a steadfast spirit, to keep himself strong in keeping his heart clean. If you want a pure heart, if you want to overcome lust, get ready for your part. As mentioned earlier, man's pride tries to keep this sin hidden and covered as much as possible. But this truly is not a wise thing. Proverbs 28, verse 13. He who conceals his sins does not prosper, but whoever confesses and renounces them finds mercy. No believer wants to be a fallen prey to lust. Not one. So, if you have found yourself to have fallen in this struggle, it's time for changes in your life. Are you willing to make those changes? I know you are, but you have to make sure that you don't find yourself like the disciples, having a willing spirit, but weak flesh. While the internet and cable TV plays the biggest role in the problem today, the temptation for sexual lust is everywhere. Yes, it's always been around. However, the amount of material in women's clothing keeps getting less and less as time passes. Some women's magazines today would have almost been considered porn back in the day. Yet today, they are accepted as no big deal. So with the problem being so prevalent and only getting worse in the world that we live in, what are men to do? There are many opinions out there, but there is one that I believe has been simply overlooked. In fact, to some, it may even be considered too elementary for bringing up. The verse is found in Numbers. Numbers 15, verse 39. You will have these tassels to look at, so you will remember all the commands of Yahweh, that you may obey them and not prostitute yourselves by going after the lusts of your own hearts and eyes. Now you may be saying, Steve, I already wear my tzitzits. Yes, you may, but I believe all too often we forget why we are to wear them. One more time. You will have these tassels to look at, so you will remember all the commands of Yahweh, that you may obey them and not prostitute yourselves by going after the lusts of your own hearts and eyes. Overcoming sexual lust is not a one-time decision. I wish it were that easy. Yes, you may have made that decision, but don't let your guard down. Lust is like any other temptation. It will always look for another opportune time to present itself to you. It may not be bold and in your face. It may be something small and could even appear insignificant. But be sure of this, it will always come knocking again. Yet that is why Yahweh gave us tzitzits, so we will always have them as a reminder and encouragement of who we serve. Does this make the temptation any less? Of course not. However, it does help us to remember who we are to serve. We are not to serve our emotions or flesh. When we give in to lust, that is what we do. At that moment, we serve ourselves. Just as much as we make the choice to get out of bed every morning, we have to make the choice to overcome lust in our lives. That starts with personally making safety guards in our life, parameters in your life that you consciously stay within every day. This has to be you making the choice and not someone else forcing you. It has to be you making the choice to be strong. 1 Corinthians 16:13. Be on your guard. Stand firm in the faith. Be men of courage. Be strong. We'll come back to making parameters in our life in a minute. Something I want to make clear is that temptation is not sin. It's what we do with that temptation that determines if we sin or not. For example, it was just last week that I was responding to a friend request on Facebook. As usual, I went to the person's own Facebook page to see who it was that was wanting to be friends on Facebook. When I got to their page, I immediately saw pornographic material. I was shocked, as their cover photo made them appear to be in the faith. To be fair, the person could have just been spammed. The point, however, is that at that moment I saw those images, I could have given in to the temptation. Thankfully, I didn't, and I moved along with my day. But the temptation itself was not sin. But let it be known right here and now that there is no man that is beyond falling to this temptation. No matter how strong one may want to think they are in any area of life, they need to be careful. The very attitude of thinking you are beyond falling to lust or any sin could actually make you all the more vulnerable. 1 Corinthians 10, verse 12. So, if you think you are standing firm, be careful that you don't fall. But let's continue reading here. Verse 13. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out so you can stand up under it. He will always make a way for you to overcome that temptation. I know you know that, but sometimes I think we need to be reminded of it. You can overcome. Let me say that again. You can overcome. It all starts with those parameters we were talking about earlier. You see, everybody is different, so everybody will have different needs for their own parameters. The thing is, only you know your personal weakness best. For example, I remember over 20 years ago talking to a man who told me that he would never walk down a magazine aisle at a particular store, or at any store for that matter. I questioned him why, and he said because every time he did in the past, he only found himself glancing at covers that he knew he had no business looking at as a believer, and that only fed evil thoughts that were bound to grow. We have to be honest with ourselves. We know when we are feeding the flesh, and we know when we are strengthening our spirit. And this man made the conscious choice to not feed his flesh. Galatians 6. Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. The one who sows to please his sinful nature, from that nature will reap destruction. The one who sows to please the Spirit, from the Spirit will reap eternal life. You and only you know the parameters that you need to establish in your life in this area. Parameters that you have to establish and maintain. Overcoming lust in your life starts with you being honest with yourself. You will not even come close to overcoming lust in your life if you are not willing to be honest with yourself on this topic. We will continue this topic in the next chapter, but from a different perspective. One that we believe will change your perspective forever. We hope you have enjoyed this teaching. Now, it's up to you to be a Berean and study it for yourself. That's the only way to grow. Until next time, Shalom.